I can tell you, our quote of the day comes from Reba McEntire. Well, welcome back. Earlier this week, I was filling in for Barry, and on a couple of those days, I made my journey into downtown New Bedford, and I went over to visit my friend, Frederick Douglass. He was just sitting around like he normally does. And I think he had a line that he used on me not too long ago, at the beginning of the month ago. So you're really going to keep coming around even though it's not Black History Month? And I said, yeah, I'm going to keep on coming around even though it's not Black History Month. I want to see how many people are coming to visit you over here. Very rarely do I see folks, and I come at different times. It's not like I'm coming in at 4 o'clock in the morning, like I might on a Saturday. It's not like it isn't the lunch break, rush hour, morning, afternoon. I guess people just don't want to take the time out to, even locals. It was great for the opening, I guess, but how about giving the guy his due? At any rate, I went through downtown this morning, and I was looking, as I normally do, for the guy who is sleeping outside, basically sitting on the cement in front of the downtown library, not too far off from Harpoon Man. And I didn't see him this morning. Last Saturday, he was there. And I'm thinking, the temperature's getting a little warmer now. And this is your spot. Where are you? But like Frederick Douglass, not much of a response. The guy just was not there today. One of the things that I have noticed going through downtown is I don't see anywhere near as many people, and this could be the fact that we're still in winter, but I don't see as many homeless people, thankfully, as I'm used to seeing in that downtown area, by the bus, by the library, heading all the way down William Street in the little alcove park there, Abolition Row, and over in that area. I'm not seeing it, and quite frankly, I'm glad. Every once in a while, I'll see a smattering or two, maybe walking Purchase Street, Union, but by and large, I don't know if it's because the city has done a bang-up job, if those particular homeless people have passed on. I'm not quite sure what it is, but they're not there, and I guess that's a good sign. It's certainly, at least during the time that I'm traveling, it's not because there's a built-up police presence, because quite frankly, I think maybe one time out of the past 2 months, maybe this whole calendar year, I haven't seen but one police squad car down in that area on one particular Saturday morning. So it's not that I'm saying police don't do their job, but there really isn't that need. Maybe it's the time of year. And I think we all should be happy that at least we don't have a bunch of homeless people running around in the middle of winter in downtown New Bedford. At least that's the way I'm going to take it. 508-996-0500. There was a lot of talk. Barry and I talked about this yesterday, about the fact that the New Bedford City Council at their meeting Thursday sent off to study a review of the city's charter. I did not hear much conversation. I have not read online anything dealing with the with the police officer's basic request for a 5-year contract for body-worn cameras. And I would think when you're looking at a 5-year contract, $1.8 and change million, that might spark a little interest. As I mentioned earlier in the week, a couple of days before the council was going to sit down to actually discuss what to do about the body cameras, I said I'd had a change of heart. If this were 10 years ago, maybe 8 years ago, I would have been against it. But I have seen where these cameras can be beneficial, not only to the police, but to the public. Beneficial to the public if the police release the footage in a timely manner. Now, I guess that's very subjective. What is timely? If it's an ongoing investigation, well, you're not going to get the release. But I have also seen in numerous cases where there is the footage, the police footage, state police, local police, and because somebody was shot or beaten, and the police seem to be the alleged suspect or suspects, that footage isn't released in a timely manner. And then the next thing you know, you have civil rights attorneys coming out, free speech attorneys coming out. We want the footage. And there's a delay, another delay, And then all of a sudden, the footage comes out, and it's been doctored. What do I mean by doctored? It's been spliced and diced. So, I believe now that this footage can be viable. It could also clear police officers of any potential wrongdoing. I don't know how New Bedford police really feel about it, but quite frankly, I think, and maybe I'm looking at it from the perspective of being a civilian, but I think in this day and age, this is something that police officers would want to wear. I'm sure there are one or two that don't, and I don't want to come out and say, well, those are the bad actors out there. But the presumption will be, if you say no, it's because you're afraid of some of the things that you're doing. You might think, and I can understand this. You're a good officer. You've never done anything wrong, or to the best of your knowledge, you haven't done anything wrong. And you don't want to wear that camera because all of a sudden you feel like, well, they're pointing the finger at me, even though I haven't done anything wrong. Well, the footage, if you haven't done anything wrong, would clear you. Just a thought on a more gray day than it was when we started the show today. I'm looking over to Studio 6 and 7/8, and who do I see? Jim Phillips has a Town Square Sunday update for us. Good morning, Jim. How are you today?
Morning, Brian. Good morning, everyone. I'm Jim Phillips, and this is what's happening on Town Square Sunday. We'll talk with two members of the New Bedford Economic Development Council about the housing crisis in New Bedford. Tony Sapienza and Paul Chase will share details about the EDC's recent report on housing. Some of those points might surprise you. We'll tell you about a local fundraiser sponsored by Club SS Meadowrance to help Voc Tech graduates pay for tools as they enter their trade. And in an encore interview, we'll tell you how you can help the United Way collect food items for their springtime Hunger Heroes food drive. I'm Jim Phillips. Join me for Town Square Sunday, Sunday morning at 6 and 11 on 1420 WBSM and 99.5 FM.
Thank you very much, Jim. It's time now for the Bitcoin Business Barometer. as we measure the universal crypto marketplace. Wow, Bitcoin continues to soar. It went up. It was up over $69,000. Now it's dropped a little bit, but it's up from even last Saturday at this time. 61,974. That's not right. It's up to 68,000 in change. 68,000 in change. And that's up more than $6,300 from last week at this time. Ethereum kind of went down 235, coming in this morning at 3,705. Binance Coin up $133, coming in at 621. Solana at 195. That's up $47. XRP this morning up a penny at 63 cents. Cardano down a penny at 72 cents. Dogecoin at 17 cents this morning. It is down 1 cent from last week at this time. And that's your Bitcoin business barometer for today, March 16th, 2024. As always, I get my numbers from CoinMarketCap.com. Why? Because they've got their pulse on the crypto market, and besides the top 7 that I give you, they have some 300 plus that they are keeping tabs on every single second of the day. If there's a change, CoinMarketCap.com has that change for you. 508-996-0500. That's how you get onto the program today. On Thursday, I took a trip out to Fall River. Went to Whites of Westport for the job fair thrown by the One SouthCoast Chamber. It's a very interesting job fair, and I'm going to talk about that in just a little bit. But I'm going to combine that with something else that I thought was particularly interesting. Earlier in the week, a survey by the Greater Boston Chamber of Commerce Foundation came out. And this survey reveals that 25% of people ages 20 to 30 plan on leaving the Greater Boston area in the next 5 years. Now, that's a point-in-time survey. So people could change their mind a week from now, a year from now, 5 years from now. But I thought it was very interesting considering the situation we're in, not only here in the Commonwealth, but particularly down here in our backyard. 25%, that's 1 out of every 4 people between the ages of 20 and 30. They say they're going to leave. Why? 3 particular reasons. 1, rent is astronomical in the Greater Boston area. They can't afford to keep on paying the rent. Why wait the whole 5 years, you say? Well, who knows exactly why. Could be that they're college students between the ages of 20 and 30. Could be in graduate school. Who knows for sure? But they say they plan on leaving. Rent was one of the top 3 reasons. Being able to afford to buy a house is another reason. And the third reason, the jobs market. Now, we can look at the jobs market in a couple of ways. One is the lack of jobs that are going to pay the amount of money that somebody would need to either be able to afford the rents that are out there, or a job maybe that they can work from home. So there are a couple of ways of looking at that. So considering this came from the Greater Boston Chamber of Commerce, I reached out in two directions. One to Paul Chase, who was our guest last week on Brian's Beat during the 8 o'clock hour, because we were talking about housing here in the New Bedford area. Now, if we're talking about folks ages 20 to 30 leaving the Greater Boston area, let me give you an idea of the survey area. In this particular case, Greater Boston included not only the city of Boston, but the suburbs all the way up to New Hampshire, going out toward Framingham and Middlesex County. So Suffolk, Middlesex, Essex, Norfolk County, and even Plymouth County. The survey did not include Bristol County. Hello, you know where we are? It did not include our county, and it did not include the Cape and Islands, and it didn't include Worcester and west of Worcester. So I sent that message to Paul Chase about what the Greater Boston Chamber survey revealed. And I said, look, we can look at these numbers in a couple of ways. Bust for our area, or maybe a boon if people have decided, well, they're going to leave Greater Boston and come down here. Of course, that begs the question, what about the jobs down here? And what about the people that are currently living here? Because as we mentioned last week, the entire area, Fall River over to Wareham, there's going to be a need of some 8,700 housing units, single-family homes, multi-family dwellings, the whole gamut. And if folks from the Greater Boston area decide that they want to stay in the Commonwealth but come down here, what does that do to the rental prices in our backyard? What does it do to the housing prices in our backyard? You know as well as I do, that means the price is going to go up even more. What happens to the people that are already here? Because look, you know, we can try to blame landlords all we want, but if somebody is offering you a higher price for your apartment than the person who's already living there, you know, at some particular point, we have to say, we understand that the landlord is going to take the money. Maybe the landlord has something else he or she can offer another person in a different location, but it is about location. And there is a train that is supposedly going to start sometime this year with a docking station in New Bedford and a docking station in Fall River. 2 docking stations in both cities. So one of the comments that I had to Paul Chase was that, well, it is certainly less expensive to live down here than in the Greater Boston area, but it's also less expensive to live in the Greater Providence area than it is to live over here. Which, you know, he questioned a little bit, and I get that, because Greater Providence can also mean Middletown, Newport, Tiverton, Little Compton. But to me, yes, those areas certainly encompass Greater Providence, but I'm thinking also East Providence, Pawtucket, and Woonsocket, areas like that, where the housing prices are much less expensive than what we would call Providence proper, and Cranston and Warwick. So is it possible that folks will leave this area for better job opportunities in the Providence area. What's going to happen? More importantly, and I see you there, I'm going to get to you in just a sec. More importantly to me, I wondered, well, if the Greater Boston Chamber of Commerce has done a survey like this, what about one SouthCoast Chamber? Have they done a survey like this? I was in touch with Rick Kidder, the former executive director, and he said during his time, they had never done a survey like this. I never heard back from the current chief executive or executive director to find out exactly if they have done one since Rick Kidder has stepped aside. My guess is they have not. But I think it's important because that age group, 20 to 30, do you really want them leaving this area? 508-996-0500. I appreciate your patience as I rambled on there. Hello.
I appreciate you. I think that you're one of the best on the air managing calls. Then I think you care about the people that call. And, every once in a while when there's a commercial, you jump on and say, I'll be right with you. Nobody else does that on the station. You do a great job. So there you go.
Well, thank you. But I would say that the others are busy.
Well, that's their problem. Anyway.
Well, thanks.
So you said it's Panther Day?
Yeah, it is Save the Panther Day.
I was thinking maybe it's Save the Black Panther Day because those guys are getting old, right?
The ones that are still alive. But, there is the new Black Panther Party.
Yeah, but I would think that saving the Black Panther Day would be really important because some of those guys that were in their youth in the 60s are, like you said, they're getting old. So let's save those guys first. The Panthers are good on their own in the woods. They're fine.
I don't see a reason to save those Panthers at all, the ones in the woods.
All right. Well, you don't have to be 20 to 30 to move out. The nice thing about America in this free society is that you can take the local indicators like tax rates and income and rent and mortgage and interest rates, and you can make a decision. And I'm 63 and I'm moving. So, we're going to the Carolinas. We've already been down there, and, it's way lower costs, about a quarter of the taxes. They don't tax Social Security. I think that there's a lot of people looking, and for different reasons. I mean, some people are moving because of politics, and I think it's kind of dumb. I just had a friend last year move from Northern California, a multi-generational Northern California family, and he ended up in Greenville, South Carolina. And talking to him, he wants a better place for his family, lower cost environment. People are super friendly down there, and I think the political climate changes how things work. I
think you're absolutely correct. Without a doubt. As you bring that up, I did not see it mentioned as one of the top reasons people are leaving the greater Boston area, but the red tape that is around here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and couple that with the increasing taxes. You hit it on the head. I think those are great reasons for people to leave.
Well, if you're 20 to 30, right, Brian, whether you're out of college or not out of college, you're heading to making your peak income. At 30 years old, you're probably making peak income for your life, and from there, you're going to continue to maintain it or whatever. So I think when you're young, and my kids are 29 and 27, they live in Boston, and they're both moving too. That's kind of just that. They both work in the medical side, so there's plenty of medical jobs and pharmaceutical jobs. But I think that when you're on the front side of your life, a lot of things like taxes kind of don't matter. I mean, because you don't own a home, you're not burdened with okay, now I'm on a track for the next 30 years. But man, when you're 63 and I'm not ready for retirement, I'm going to work quite a long ways out because I work remotely, but holy cow! I mean, the taxes. We just added up the taxes this year, and then cost of living. That's cost of milk, cost of eggs, all that stuff. It really adds up. I mean, we feel like we've gone backwards by $15,000 over the last 2 years per year.
That's a lot of spending money.
No, it's a lot. It's a lot. So if we go to another environment that doesn't have the same tax level and doesn't have things like taxes for, like I have a trailer, small trailer for utility, and they have an excise tax. There's no excise tax, in these other places. So all those little things add up, and suddenly you go, holy crap! Now all I'm doing is putting money in the bank. So
hey, there you go. So why did you choose the Carolinas? You north or south? Let me ask that.
Actually, we started looking in east of Charlotte, and then just a little bit west of Greenville. But we're probably going to settle on the greater Greenville area. Well, I mean, I'll give you an example. My wife's an administrative assistant, and she looks for jobs around here, up to Boston, doesn't want to commute that far. But she might find 10 jobs for administrative assistant. Looking down there's 150. So
wow.
When you're someone looking for a job that's qualified and you've got 150 jobs, you can pick and choose and find the ones with the best benefits and the most money. And so the job market's way better down there. Their housing costs are ridiculous. They start at, I could take anyone that, in the area down there and I could find them a brand new house for starting at $225 to $250. And then you go from there. So it's just, I think the environment's totally different. And I think that, it's more of a Republican state in South Carolina. It's actually pretty split down the middle in North Carolina. So, but we chose South Carolina.
I got to tell you, why do you think that is? Let me answer the question since I asked it. And that would be because a lot of people from this area moved down there. Well,
yeah. And a lot of people we talked to down there, that was sort of a soft, don't bring your politics with you. They don't want to hear the politics. That's the best way to put it. They don't, they would prefer, that you just keep your politics to yourself and do your voting and whatever. But, I mean, there's a little bit of that everywhere. California's moving to Texas, the whole bit. But and the end of the day is I love this area and the people here. And this is the longest I've lived in one area my whole life, which has been great. But it's nothing to do with the people at all, or friends. I'm going to miss a lot of friends, but we have to make choices because I don't see the Massachusetts tax environment changing for the positive. I think when you've got other things on the budget, like all of a sudden you've got illegal aliens on the budget that weren't there before, they need more money. And I understand because the government wants to take responsibility for these people, which didn't happen in the past with our immigration. People had to be on their own feet. But that's going to cost money, and it's going to come from somewhere. So, anyway.
I got you. Hey, thanks for the call.
Well, happy Panthers Day, man.
Happy Panther Day to you.
See you later.
508-996-0500 is how you get onto the program today. Quick one before we go into our break. So, woman friend has a niece, and the niece got married this past summer, end of August. Prior to getting married, she and her fiance moved to the Charlotte area. Why? Well, some other parts of the family had already moved down there. And so what we are seeing is a migration of a family. Now, the niece's father is still here, woman friend's brother. But the rest of the family has already gone down that way. There's a brother who lives in Brooklyn or New York City, but everybody else has gone down to the Carolinas. And they bought a house. I mean, they could not have done that in Jamaica Plain where they were living before. 508-996-0500. So jobs and housing are reasons why people are leaving. What else? How about an additional 3 cents on the gasoline? Wow, hour number one just